This is in the chamber with the Ark of the Covenant. All right, we broke our way in through a hole. We went 60 feet underground. We came back up. On January 6th, 1982, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I broke into a chamber beneath the Calvary escarpment, north of the city wall of Jerusalem. In that chamber is the Ark of the Covenant.
There you have it. Apparently the ark has been found. Or has it? According to biblical records, the Ark of the Covenant holds significant spiritual importance for the people it was given to, the Israelites, and not everyone can directly touch it. The ancient artifact served as a symbol of the Most High's presence among his people. So why are others trying to get their hands on it? In this session, we will talk about the Ark, the covenant, and the people. Some see the ark as a sacred chest or a box that was built by the Israelites containing the laws of the Most High, but it was more than that. It serves as a visual representation to signify relationship. Why do I say that? When you think about the Ark of the Covenant, these synonyms should come to mind: divine constitution or ordinance, with signs or pledges, agreement, alliance of marriage, treaty. So it's more than a box or a chest for the laws, because here we see in Exodus 30:22 through 30 that it is also referred to as Ark of the Testimony. Let's read it. Moreover, the Most High spoke to Moses, saying, also take for yourself quality spices, 500 shekels of liquid myrrh, half as much sweet-smelling cinnamon, 250 shekels, 250 shekels of sweet-smelling cane, 500 shekels of cassia, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, and a hin of olive oil. And you shall make from these a holy anointing oil, an ointment compounded according to the art of the perfumer. It shall be a holy anointing oil. With it you shall anoint the tabernacle of meeting and the ark of the testimony. Ark of the testimony. The table and all its utensils, the lampstand and its utensils, and the altar of incense, the altar of burnt offering with all its utensils, and the laver and its base. You shall consecrate them, that they may be most holy. Whatever touches them must be holy. And you shall anoint Aaron and his sons, and consecrate them, that they may minister to me as priests. So Moses is given this assignment to make this holy anointing oil that the Most High says is not to be duplicated for anything else, by the way. And he was supposed to anoint the tabernacle of meeting and the ark of the testimony. What's a testimony? A testimony is a demonstration or proof that something occurred. Well, what happened between Yah and the children of Israel? They entered into a relationship. So it does not signify an ark of the law. It signifies a covenant relationships. It's almost like a wedding ring. When people see it, they automatically know what it means without it having to be verbalized. We see another reference here in Exodus 25:10 through 16, and it says, and they shall make an ark of acacia wood. 2.5 cubits shall be its length, 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And you shall overlay it with pure gold. Inside and out you shall overlay it, and shall make on it a molding of gold all around. You shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in its 4 corners. 2 rings shall be on one side, and 2 rings on the other side. And you shall make poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. Now, with all that gold, we should have no doubt in our minds as to why the heathens want it. Let's go on. It says, you shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark, that the ark may be carried by them. The poles shall be in the rings of the ark, they shall not be taken from it. And you shall put into the ark the testimony which I will give you. Let's read this from Exodus 24, 3 through 8. Moses is going to tell the people what the Most High had said to him regarding the laws, statutes, and commandments. So it says, and Moses came and told the people all the words of the Most High and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Most High has said, we will do. And Moses wrote all the words of the Most High, and rose up early in the morning, and builded an altar under the hill, and 12 pillars, according to the 12 tribes of Israel. It goes on to say, and he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings, and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Most High. And Moses took half of the blood, and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant, and read in the audience of the people, and they said, all that the Most High has said we will do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold the blood of the covenant which the Most High has made with you concerning all these words. So they entered into a covenant agreement. And in Exodus, Moses is told to have the Israelites build a sanctuary for him, for the Most High. This sanctuary was like a movable tabernacle that housed the Ark of the Covenant while the Israelites moved from place to place. The ark served as the container that carried the agreement, this agreement that Moses read to them. It was like a conduit of Yah's power and his presence. After they entered the promised land, the Ark of the Covenant was placed in the central part of the tabernacle, called the Holy of Holies, after it was built. What is this symbolic of? Well, it represents what happened after Messiah died and was resurrected. We became the temples of the Holy Spirit, the Ruach. And what did Yah promise to do? He would put the laws in our hearts. Now, of course, we know that the children of Israel failed to uphold their end of the agreement, and they were sent into captivity. That is why we are still in the lands of our captivity. But this prophecy here from Ezekiel is primarily to those exiled in Babylon. It's also the word for us today. It's what I refer to as a dual prophecy. These words here in verses 14 through 20 is in regard to the restoration of Israel. It says, again the word of the Most High came to me, saying, Son of man, your brethren, your relatives, your countrymen, and all the house of Israel in its entirety are those about whom the inhabitants of Jerusalem have said, get far away from the Most High. This land has been given to us as a possession. Therefore say, thus says the Most High Yah, although I have cast them far off among the Gentiles, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet, listen to this, I shall be a little sanctuary. I shall be a little sanctuary for them in the countries where they have gone. Therefore say, thus says the Most High Yah, I will gather you from the peoples, assemble you from the countries where you have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel. And they will go there, and they will take away all its detestable things and all its abominations from there. Then I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within them, and take the stony heart out of their flesh, and give them a heart of flesh, that they may walk in my statutes, and keep my judgments, and do them. And they shall be my people, and I will be their Eloah, some would say here, or Adonai. So this is a promise to us in the last days. So what happened to the ark? Well, let's dig into that. Of course, you know that various reports say that the ark is in Ethiopia. Then they actually have more than one. There is one in several of the churches there. So they celebrate this festival called Epiphany. And when they celebrate this, they use replicas of the Ark of the Covenant. So according to UNESCO, this festival is celebrated all over Ethiopia to commemorate the baptism of Christ by John the Baptist in the River Jordan. It says the commemoration starts on the eve of the main festival on 18 January. The eve is known as Ketera, which means blocking the flow of water for the blessing of the celebrants. On the eve of Ketera, people escort their parish church tabot, which is a replica of the Ark of the Covenant, to Temketi Beher, a pool river or artificial reservoir, and is transported by a priest of the parish and accompanied by a great ceremony. But I had to do some more digging to find out exactly what is this festival and who started it. Let's read this from EWTN, the Global Catholic Television Network. It says, while the hustle and bustle of Christmas ends for many people on December 26th, throughout Christian history, Christmas lasts for much longer. The feast marking the end of Christmas is called Epiphany. In the Latin Rite of the Catholic Church, Epiphany celebrates the revelation that Jesus was the Son of God. It focuses primarily on his revelation to the three wise men, but it also focuses on his baptism in the Jordan and at the wedding at Cana. In the Eastern rites of the Catholic Church, Theophany, as Epiphany is known in the East, commemorates the manifestation of Jesus' divinity at his baptism in the River Jordan. Now, family, should we be surprised that this festival originated in Rome? Just like Christmas, Easter, and we could go on and on. Interesting, though, that they don't celebrate the days Israelites were told to celebrate. But let's continue. This article from Gaia says, has the lost Ark of the Covenant been found in Israel? Well, let's see. Now, according to Israeli newspaper Haaretz, archaeologists excavating a 3,100-year-old temple west of Jerusalem have uncovered an unusual stone table that seems to match that which was described in the Bible as playing a role in the story of the Ark of the Covenant. So Tel Aviv archaeologists say there is a lot of evidence that this was indeed a temple, and it is very clear that this is not a standard domestic space but something special. And this report from CBS News says British Museum faces probe over handling of tabots, sacred Ethiopian artifacts held 150 years out of view. The report says London's renowned British Museum is facing an investigation by the United Kingdom's information watchdog over claims that it has not been transparent about a collection of sacred Ethiopian altar tablets held away from public view for more than 150 years. It says the museum has housed the 11 wood and stone tablets, which are replicas of the Ark of the Covenant, since they were looted from Ethiopia by British forces following the Battle of Magdala in 1868. Now listen, according to the museum, the tablets are believed by Ethiopian Christians to be the dwelling place of God on earth, the mercy seat described in the Bible, and the representation of the Ark of the Covenant. The ancient Ark of the Covenant, according to Jewish tradition, contained the Ten Commandments. It goes on to say, if and when consecrated, a tablet is typically kept in a church's Holy of Holies, an inner sanctum that only senior clergy are permitted to enter. Because of their sacred nature, the tablets have never been put on public display at the or by the British Museum. I wonder why. They put everything else on display. Let's keep going. And of course, the one that probably is the most well known of all is a man named Ron Wyatt, who supposedly found the ark, and according to him, a drop of Messiah's blood was there as well. So he said he drilled into a space that he had excavated, and he could see the crown molding around the top of the mercy seat and the flat golden side, and he was able to see the objects in this chamber and feels confident that the Ark of the Covenant is there in a stone case. He says the table of showbread is there, the golden altar of incense, and he lists some other things. Well, this man is called the modern Indiana Jones. In all, he claims to have found nearly 100 biblical discoveries, including the remains of Noah's Ark, Goliath's sword, the original Ten Commandments, and of course the Ark of the Covenant, and even the dried blood of Messiah. So we have reports from various places claiming to have it or know where it is. The question is, who would be allowed to get close enough to it to touch it? Let's do a refresher and see what happened when the Philistines took it. This comes from 1 Samuel 5:1-9. It says, then the Philistines took the ark of Yah and brought it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. When the Philistines took the ark of Yah, they brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon. Dagon is the fish god. Do a Google search on the Catholic Church and Dagon. You may be surprised. It says, and when the people of Ashdod arose early in the morning, there was Dagon fallen on its face to the earth before the ark of the Most High. So they took Dagon and set it in its place again. And when they arose early the next morning, there was Dagon fallen on its face to the ground before the ark of the Most High. The head of Dagon and both the palms of its hands were broken off on the threshold. Only Dagon's torso was left of it. Now, you would think that rational thinking people would realize that if he could do that to the God you're serving, then your God must not be the true God. But you just have to shake your head on this one. Let's keep going. It says, therefore, neither the priests of Dagon nor any who come into Dagon's house tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod to this day. But the hand of the Most High was heavy on the people of Ashdod, and he ravaged them and struck them with tumors, both Ashdod and its territory. So when the men saw what was happening, they said, look, this ark cannot stay here. His hand is harsh toward us and Dagon, our God. We got to get this ark out of here. So they sent and called for the lords of the Philistines and told them, look, what are we going to do with this ark? And they told them, well, let's carry it away to Gath. So they carried it to Gath, and guess what? they received the same treatment. It says the hand of the Most High was against the city with a very great destruction, and he struck the men of the city, both small and great, and tumors broke out on them. So the men of Gath were like, oh no, this ark cannot stay here. So they took it to another city. They took it to Ekron, and the same thing happened. So the people of Ekron cried out and said, they have brought this ark to us to kill us and our people. So they got all of the lords of the Philistines together again and told them, look, you all need to take this ark back to its own place so that it does not kill us and our people. And it says, for there was a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of Yah was very heavy there, and the men who did not die were stricken with the tumors, and the cry of the city went up to heaven. So family, how likely is it that the ark would be in the hands of those who are not the true people of the Most High? And not only that, there were only certain people of Israel who could touch it. Here's what it says in 2 Maccabees 2:1-7. We see Jeremiah giving instructions because the people are going into captivity. It says, one finds in the records that Jeremiah the prophet ordered those who were being deported to take some of the fire, as has been told, and that the prophet, after giving them the law, instructed those who were being deported not to forget the commandments of the Most High, nor to be led astray in their thoughts upon seeing the gold and silver statues and their adornment. And with other similar words he exhorted them that the law should not depart from their hearts. It was also in the writing that the prophet, having received an oracle, so Jeremiah received a word from the Most High, and based on that word he received, he ordered that the tent and the ark should follow with him, and that he went out to the mountain where Moses had gone up and had seen the inheritance of Yah. And Jeremiah came and found a cave, and he brought there the tent and the ark and the altar of incense, and he sealed up the entrance. Now listen. It says, some of those who followed him came up to mark the way. So they were going to mark where he had placed these items so that at a later date people would know where he had hidden the items. But look what it says. They could not find it. And when Jeremiah learned of it, he rebuked them and declared, the place shall be unknown until Yah gathers his people together again and shows his mercy. And then the Most High will disclose these things. So we will be given a revelation in the last days when we're regathered, so that we will know where these things are, because they belong to us. It says, and the glory of the Most High and the cloud will appear, as they were shown in the case of Moses, and as Solomon asked that the place should be specially consecrated. So just think about what I shared concerning what the ark represents. It represents the relationship between the Most High and his chosen people. It served as a visible representation that he was with them. Why would he allow the other nations to get their hands on it? They do not share that history. It will not have the same meaning. So yes, they may have a replica of it, and I believe that is the interest that the Ish people had in the Ethiopian Jews. And here's why. Take a look at this. This comes from 2 Chronicles 2:11-13, and I covered a lot of this in the live this past week, so I really encourage you to go back and listen to that message if you have not done so. So this is what is happening when Solomon is building the temple, and he needed skilled workers. So listen, it says, then Hiram, king of Tyre, answered in writing, which he sent to Solomon, Because the Most High loves his people, he has made you king over them. Hiram also said, Blessed be the Most High of Israel, who made heaven and earth, for he has given King David a wise son, endowed with prudence and understanding, who will build a temple for the Most High and a royal house for himself. Now listen. And now I have sent a skillful man, endowed with understanding, Huram my master craftsman, the son of a woman of the daughters of Dan. And his father was a man of Tyre, skilled to work in gold and silver, bronze and iron, stone and wood, purple and blue, fine linen and crimson, and to make any engraving and to accomplish any plan which may be given to him. With your skillful men and with the skillful men of my Lord David your father. So those people over there are trying to connect themselves to those who may have knowledge about the construction of the temple and its intricate details, especially since the Beta Israel are saying that they are of the lineage of Dan and that they have the Ark of the Covenant. Because we know them folks do not have that knowledge. This is one of the reasons they're trying to make inroads with the Lemba. They believe these two groups have the knowledge they need. If you read the entire chapter of 1 Kings 7, you will see that he was a very skilled artisan. So I'm just going to read this portion, verses 40 through 43. It says, Huram made the lavers and the shovels and the bowls. So Huram finished doing all the work that he was to do for King Solomon for the house of the Most High, the two pillars, the two bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the two pillars, the two networks covering the two bowl-shaped capitals which were on top of the pillars, 400 pomegranates for the two networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to cover the two bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the pillars, the 10 carts and 10 lavers on the carts, 1 sea and 12 oxen under the sea, the pots, the shovels, and the bowls. So when the Beta Israel say that they are descendants of Dan and that they have the ark, you have to know that that would have sparked interest. Those folks over there who say they are us never saw those people as being one of them. No, they needed something from them. Have they been treated as brethren? No. They immediately began to give the women long-term contraceptives without their knowledge. Some of you may remember reading about it in the news, but they finally admitted that they were doing this to these women. Why were they doing that? Because they knew that they were not the same people. Now let's look at the Septuagint concerning the ark to see if there is a corroborating witness here for what we read in 2 Maccabees. This is coming from Jeremiah 3:14 through 18. Turn, ye children that have revolted, said the Most High, for I will rule over you, and I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you into Zion. And I will give you shepherds after my heart, and they shall certainly tend you with knowledge. And it shall come to pass that when you are multiplied and increased upon the land, saith the Most High, in those days they shall say no more, the ark of the covenant of the Holy One of Israel. It shall not come to mind, it shall not be named, neither shall it be visited, nor shall this be done any more. In those days and at that time they shall call Jerusalem the throne of the Most High, and all the nations shall be gathered to it, and they shall not walk any more after the imaginations of their evil heart. In those days the house of Judah shall come together to the house of Israel, and they shall come together from the land of the north, and from all the countries to the land which I caused their fathers to inherit. So what is it saying here? There won't be a reliance on the ark to know that he is with us. We will know it. It says Jerusalem will be called the throne of the Most High, and all the nations, those that survive, will come to worship the King. Now listen to this from this journal article, African Affairs. It says, can the Ethiopian change his skin? The Beta Israel Ethiopian Jews and racial discourse. It says the arrival of over 55,000 Ethiopian immigrants in Israel has produced a situation whose social implications extend beyond the borders of a single state. The arrival of a black African group in a predominantly white country with virtually no previous experience with such a population is unusual, if not unique, in the second half of the 20th century. This article seeks to examine the Ethiopian encounter with Israeli society through the exploration of racial concepts. It is argued that Ethiopian Jews have been characterized as black to a, for them, unprecedented degree, and have also been depicted as not black in a number of subtle and significant ways. The exploration of the racial discourse about this specific population is used to demonstrate the way in which global and local racial categories exist side by side. Since Israel, like other countries, including South Africa and Brazil, has been shaped by, but is not at the center of Euro-American culture, this example also offers interesting insight into the cultural determinants of racial discourse. Let's go on. It says, in recent years, several articles have taken the blackness of the Ethiopians as a given and used it to pose their research questions. One of the earliest articles, replicating a famous experiment undertaken in the United States in 1947, noted the preference of Ethiopian children for white rather than black dolls. Unfortunately, the significance of this finding is significantly diminished owing to the author's lack of awareness that the Ethiopians' own categories, while negatively evaluating blackness, did not assign themselves to that category. They do not see themselves as being black. It says, indeed, this research problem has recurred in a number of studies which, while correctly noting that Israelis classify Ethiopian immigrants as blacks, they fail to take into account the role of the Ethiopians' self-perception in this process. In other words, by taking the Ethiopians' blackness for granted, they have failed to grasp that as much as Ethiopian immigrants in Israel are black, it is perhaps even more important that they are becoming black. In other words, they're being treated that way. What do they mean by that? Well, let's keep going. It says, in this context, and for the purpose of this article, the color conceptions of the Ethiopians themselves form a necessary starting point, as has been commented on by several observers. Ethiopian Jews, like other northern Ethiopians, do not consider themselves to be black. Rather, they describe themselves, as do other peoples of northeast Ethiopia, as reddish brown. Did you hear that? Reddish brown. Listen to what they say. Black was a term reserved for low status groups, most notably slaves. So we're not really talking about a color here, because a lot of our people are as light or lighter than some Ethiopian Jews. Our color is not black. So the point being made here is that they don't identify with us. What is the mark that sets us apart? Slavery. Let's go on. It says, despite the Ethiopians' own reservations about their classification as blacks, numerous authorities ignoring or ignorant of this qualification have taken their blackness as a given. So when they went over there, they were treated like they were slaves. It goes on to say, so obvious has this identification been assumed to be that numerous works simply accept it with no further explanation. Interesting, right? Let's go on. So it goes on to talk about this man, Yaakov, the Jewish activist who, in the first half of the 20th century, lobbied on behalf of the Falasha, called one of his articles "The Black Jews of Abyssinia." More than a half century later, Yael, a young Israeli who lived for a year in a village in Ethiopia, called her account of her sojourn "Black Brothers." The American anthropologist Simon Messing, although well aware that indigenous Ethiopian color classification differed from that of the West, did not hesitate to subtitle his book "The Story of the Falashas, Black Jews of Ethiopia." So the Western mindset is, we don't care how you classify yourselves. This is how we see you, and this is how they have been treated, and they resent it. Continuing, it says, on a practical level, they have often embraced the comparisons with African Americans and other black groups. Thus, an Ethiopian immigrant speaking several weeks after the Los Angeles riots, which followed the Rodney King case, stated, "We will join forces and form a Black Power group, like the blacks in Los Angeles." Another warned that mobile home parks used to house immigrants would soon look like Soweto in South Africa. And an anonymous graffiti artist in a predominantly Ethiopian neighborhood scrawled "Harlem" on one of its walls. As is always the case in such instances, it is difficult to determine the extent to which this rhetoric reflects their agreement that their situation resembles that of these groups, and the extent to which they find it necessary to employ such language to strike a chord with their Israeli counterparts. In the latter case, this would mean that Ethiopian Jews, while rejecting their identification as blacks, understand that this is how they are perceived by Israelis, and shape their discourse accordingly. And this ill treatment of them is showing up in many ways, not only with the birth control issue, but there was also an incident with blood donations. Listen to this. Israel's ban on use of Ethiopians' blood. How many infectious donations were prevented? So what was going on here? They were excluding the blood donations from the Ethiopian Jews, claiming that it was unacceptably high because of risk from HIV or other infections. So it says blood donations from Ethiopian immigrants to Israel were taken and then discarded without informing the donors, owing to the high prevalence of HIV-1 infection in this community relative to other Israelis. So there was a major backlash and riots. 10,000 Ethiopian immigrants rioted, and it led to injuries. And the reason, of course, they're saying is because, well, the prevalence among Ethiopian immigrants was 50 times higher than the prevalence in the rest of the Israeli population. But the analysis suggested that the blood banks vastly overestimated the risk posed by Ethiopian donors. Listen to this. It says, those who favored exclusion asked if one would knowingly accept a transfusion from an Ethiopian. Didn't we have the same issue here in America? Our blood was considered to be tainted. So then the question has to be, why would you then have these people come in, draw their blood, have them believe that it's for donation, that they're donating their blood, and then you throw it away? Seriously, why would you do that? So you just have to keep wondering, why did they go through such efforts to move those folks out of Sudan knowing that they were not the same people? They had something they wanted. They also had a replica of the real thing. They know what it should look like. And in case you have not heard, those who say they are us are trying to get that third temple built, and everything will be on display. So they need to make the world believe that they have the real thing. So here's what we know for sure. The final resting place for the Ark of the Covenant is in the temple. Listen to Revelation 11:19. Then the temple of Yah was opened in heaven, and the Ark of his covenant was seen in his temple. And there were lightnings, noises, thunderings, an earthquake, and great hail. So it serves as a memorial for us, family. It does not have the same significance for these other nations. They want to handle the things that belong to Israel without taking into account their relevance to us and our history. The question they should ask is, what do these things mean? Like Passover, the day they call Easter. What is the history behind it? For many, they will say, well, it no longer matters. Well, it matters to us. It's our story. Obviously, it matters to the Most High. It matters to Him. So I hope this message has been a blessing to you. Please hit the like, share it, and you are welcome to subscribe if you have not already done so. Join me next time.